Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Lance Sexton, Delaney Sexton, Fraud Friday edition. Lance, you're looking good. Delaney, as always, you're looking better.
Bob, it's like 24 degrees here and we have snow on the ground. I would rather be with you guys. Oh, goodness.
I agree. I'd rather be there too.
Let's see. Everyone knows about the certificates. You should download these, keep track of these. It's part of your training for SBA. Number one, we haven't had poll questions for a while. Have you ever charged more than $2,500 for an SBA loan package? This is the takeaway from, quick takeaway, right, Lance?
Well, you know how I feel about this, Bob. And of course, the SOP 50-10-6 probably clarified more what we could charge for loan packaging and what it actually is. And what I want to say to the 73% who said no, if you did more than $2,500 worth of work and can justify it, you absolutely should be able to charge up more than $2,500 for loan packaging. An example, Bob, let's say you have a borrower who has 7 affiliates. And, you know, that complicates the process, takes more analysis. You know, that one could easily justify a fee of more than $2,500 for packaging. So, you know, the big takeaway is, yes, you have to document your packaging, but just because $2,500 is where you have to report it to SBA doesn't mean that you can't go over $2,500 and easily justify it.
And we're not talking gouging. We're talking about fair, but that $2,500 price has been there, what, at least 20 years, Lance?
It's been there for a long time, Bob, and used to be people would charge $24.99. That was the most. And that's the other reason, Bob, in the SOP it says you can't charge the same fee on every loan. You have to document your work, and you can't charge a flat fee for packaging.
$2,500 for each loan. Absolutely, Lance.
But Bob, for the longest time, lenders would charge $24.99.
Yeah. But go ahead and take a look at that. See, SBA is not concerned about the documentation. They're not concerned about your rates. Just tell them what you got. And obviously, you want to be reasonable. You don't want to be charging $500 an hour. My standard is charge what your paralegal charges at your law firm. Lance's standard is take the salary and maybe add a 30% overhead. It doesn't make any difference how you do it. Just document it and do it. It's okay. And you bump it up 500, 1,000, whatever's fair. You want to be fair, but there's nothing wrong with it. Number two, has SBA scheduled a review of your 7A loan portfolio in 2022, or what do you know?
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the results of this, Bob, because, you know, I think SBA reviews of participant banks probably were down the last couple of years, and it definitely looks like they're not big numbers yet for reviews.
Yeah, and we made a mistake on that poll, Joseph. It should have been yes on-site, yes off-site. Right now, they're predominantly off-site. I was just curious when they start cranking that up, and no. For those of you who answer no, though, they do track you through their Paris, and they run the monthly reports. So you are being tracked by someone, Lance. You may know more about that process than I do.
Well, the Office of Credit Risk Management is tracking what's going on in your Paris score.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're cruising along and the score is improving or maintaining where it's at, probably not a red flag. But if all of a sudden you had a big increase in your Paris score, and just to let everybody know, a low Paris score is better than a big Paris score.
And finally, have you received a PPP denial for forgiveness on a loan application that you have approved? And I'm talking about denial from SBA.
Bob, I think this is going to be 100%. Or very close.
Very close. Oh, okay. You're hedging your bet there. Oh, what do you think?
Oh my gosh.
All right, Lance. Well, why do you pay 100%? Go ahead, Lance. I want to hear your thinking.
Well, something happened in the month of December. We all have PPP loans that are in the review category. And those loans sit in the review category for quite some time. And all of a sudden in December, SBA started pushing all of those out with either a full denial, in many cases not a completely justified full denial, or a partial approval. So I'm really surprised at the responses because I felt like anybody that did much PPP lending would have some denials or some partial approvals that they were working through. I know, Bob, before I even got on the call, I was working with the borrower attempting to help them gather documentation for their appeal of a partial approval. Now, important to note, and we did this in a webinar a couple weeks ago, as a participant bank, you cannot file that appeal for the PPP borrower, but it doesn't say you can't help.
Very good. And why did SBA bring out this procedural notice? I'm going to throw out a guess, Lance, that it was in response to the Bank of America article. I thought it was sort of a hit piece on that. That Bank of America was anyway. What's going on? What's the notice say? And just tell me about it.
Essentially, it outlines what the appeal process is on a PPP loan where the bank denies or denies the forgiveness, or the bank recommends a partial approval of forgiveness on that PPP loan. I'm going to be honest with you, Bob, it would have been more helpful to me and other PPP lenders if the procedural notice would have outlined what we're supposed to do in the case of a denial or a partial approval on a PPP loan. We are finding out on the fly, Bob, different ways to work through some of those partials and denials and try to get those converted to approvals. But this procedural notice outlined how a borrower can appeal a lender's decision. As we all know, in the PPP forgiveness process, the first step after submission of the forgiveness application is the lender reviewing and approving. There was an article that came out, Bob, and I think you read it too, and Delaney, you also saw that article, and we talked about it, where Bank of America was denying forgiveness to quite a number of borrowers and doing partial approvals.
Yeah, which is legitimate action, right? Go ahead.
So, I'm not saying Bank of America is making a mistake or someone else who did this, because it's part of the process, but I think that's what caused SBA to come out with a procedural notice to outline how a borrower can appeal the bank's decision.
Yeah, we have that notice in the attachment. Joseph, is that number right? 827-666? It seems like we have
Yeah, that's correct.
That is correct. Okay. All right. So go ahead and review that. And Lance, this is going to become more and more prevalent. Obviously, borrowers do not want their loans denied or partially denied. Therefore, they have to repay it. So that's important. I want to focus on something. Why is the lender out of the appeal process? You said that if there's an appeal, it's directly between the borrower and SBA. Why is the lender out of it?
Well, it's very clear in the servicing, in the information that's come out at this point. And when there is an SBA denial or partial approval, it's very clear in the letter the borrowers receive. It says, and again, in guidance we've gotten from SBA, that the participant lender cannot file the appeal on behalf of the borrower.
But why? Why? I'm just curious.
I really don't know, Bob, because the best possible.
Because you're the expert. You can.
Yeah, we've got the information. In fact, like I said, it does not say that you can't support a borrower. Right. And I had a conference call before we got on this with the borrower and their CPA, and I said, here are the documents that you need to pull together. And I shot them an email and said, here's a couple more documents that you should include, helping them in preparing for.
All right. Well, I like that response. You're working with the borrower. Obviously, the lenders are the experts. You're not just putting them on an island where they have no idea what they're talking about.
Well,
I like that response.
One final comment about it, Bob. When the borrower, and I've had this comment from multiple borrowers, when they get that partial approval or denial, it's like a lot of things with SBA, the SOP, it's not real clear. I think Delaney and I had a great conversation about this yesterday. Some SBA languages, it's like the SOPs. You can read a section, it's not real clear what it's saying. And so that's not real clear. So supporting the borrower is important. And the other thing I'll say, for those of you who did not have a partial or approval or a denial, there probably will be one coming. And when I look at what we're working with, we're working with a very, very, very small percentage of the overall portfolio, Bob. But I'll tell you this, it may not be a big percentage, but to those people who get a partial approval or denial, it's the most important part of, it's very important to them.
Yeah, all of a sudden now they're looking at $100,000 debt that they weren't planning. $200,000. Delaney, what do we have on Fraud Friday? What's with the getting the lock cutters or the cutters and cutting these ankle bracelets? Why is that becoming a new trend?
Let me recap. We've been following this case for about a year. There was a group of 8 people in California who applied for about 150 COVID relief loans through the SBA. And so most of them were convicted or they pled guilty. Now the 2 ringleaders, they decided to cut their ankle monitors and completely flee and evade. So now, lo and behold, about it.
They left their kids here, right?
I believe so. They did.
Wow.
And for reference also, they bought the classic jewelry, cars, down payments on luxury homes.
Now,
So-
I wish I'd have read the script, guys, today, because for my old FDIC bank closure dates, we were trying to do a repossession of a tanning salon, and they kept moving things around, and the sheriff was with me, and he said, well, you're going to have to go to this hardware store and buy these heavy industrial bolt cutters. I still have them to this day, Bob and Delaney, and it would cut something that big around. So that's probably what they used to get the ankle bracelets off, something like.
What was Tamara's relationship with this? She was part of the gang, and she went to her attorney's office, and she had pled guilty. She was ready to start her prison sentence, and somehow she got lost. Is that what happened?
Yes, the day of her sentence, she went to her lawyer's office. He assumed she went to, the jail or wherever she was supposed to go, and nobody ever saw her again. So she is now a fugitive. I will say at least some of the other people are in jail and serving their sentence, but
a lot of that $18, obviously they're going to seize the houses, seize the cars, seize the cash, seize the jewelry. So
Yeah.
A lot of that will come back. We don't read about that in the fraud, but there are pretty significant recoveries. In fact,
Yeah,
go ahead, Lance.
in the PPP servicing webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to repeat it for everyone that wants to participate, I talk about how to file a petition for remission on those seizures, because the various agencies are seizing automobiles, cashier's checks, jewelry, golf carts, which I love, and other assets that were acquired with PPP loan proceeds.
What did William Spigner do? He worked for a non-bank lender, Ag South, was a rural lender for farm credit. And what did he do out of Georgia?
so he was trying to find people to essentially be the person in the identity who tried to borrow for these loans. They would show up to the loan closings. All of their information were on these loans. Now, this Ag Georgia loan officer, he was getting the entirety of the loan proceeds, and he would pay them 10% for their contribution to the fraud. So they didn't give a specific amount. It's ranging from $500,000 to up to $1.5 million in losses for Ag Georgia and Ag South.
Wow.
I got I got nothing. I mean, I got nothing, Lance. Go ahead.
Well, Bob, this fraud there's some of this in the PPP loan program in 2021 where individuals would go around to a group of people and say, hey, give me your social security number, your phone number, your address, and your bank account information, and we will file for a PPP loan for you. And again, once the loan came in, the PPP borrower supposedly was supposed to give that individual a big percentage of the PPP loan. But there's some of this in PPP as well.
And I just don't understand the psychology. Mr. Palmer said he had 25 employees. How much money did he get, Delaney?
So this PPP
$500,000.
fraudster, he got $500,000.
But he went out and bought the requisite Maserati. I can't even pronounce it.
I know, I couldn't either.
Quattroporte. So shows you what
Wow.
Freightliner.
Well,
Now I can
he
pronounce
bought a huge truck.
I can pronounce the Ford F-350. But I just understand the psychology. They get the money and then they go blow it, and they assume they're smarter than everyone else. And of course, now the government owns all this stuff. And see, what did he was he convicted or he was just indicted?
I believe he's currently just indicted and charged. So this should be all alleged at the moment.
Oh yeah, allegedly. Okay.
Yeah.
I said Mr. Palmer, so I didn't. Oh well, we have his name there. Great. All right. Hey, we're going to have some fun next Wednesday. Delaney, what are we doing on Wednesday?
Wednesday, we will be holding the Coleman 2022 SBA Lender Professional Awards. I'm very excited for it.
And you will be announcing them, and we will be doing the run-up. So if you're nominated, tune in. Even if you're not nominated, tune in and congratulate your friends and your peers and think about putting together your package for 2022.
Yeah.
But these are, we've opened it up. We have more. Do you have another slide, Joseph?
No, that's it.
Okay, but we have other categories. We've opened up to some marketing, podcasting, fintech lenders. So we've opened it up to broader participation in it. So that'll be a fun show. And the time, Joseph, what time is it that we're doing this?
Same as this, 1 o'clock Eastern.
1 o'clock Eastern.
Same link to log into this.
Very good. And Lance, the day before, you're going to do a quick little update on the 159. It's a repeat of the webinar that we had back in January. So if
Absolutely. It's important to understand how to properly report agent fees.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the 912 as well, Bob.
Yeah. And that I think you talk a little credit elsewhere in that one as well?
Not in that one, Bob, but we will be doing the Credit Elsewhere webinar. In fact, I asked Joe to send that to me earlier so I can take a look at it very soon. But the one thing for everybody who's curious, I got several emails last time, Bob, and they were saying, I thought the 912 went away. Well, it did. But we're going to talk about what changes caused that.
Yeah, it did go away, but the form itself went away, but the responsibility for reporting the information that was on the form did not.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, have a nice weekend. Lance, thanks for joining us. Delaney, thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us for Call Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great weekend.